Hi everyone, it's Desiree. I'm back with another idea. I keep changing the title. Just another idea for your junk journals. And trying to also use minimal gadgets. So let's call that. And one of the gadgets that I'm mainly talking about, we're going to be making this item here. It's a cute little envelope. You can paper clip it in your junk journal. Put it in a pocket, whatever you're looking to do. But you can see the base of it is just a typical envelope. Now, if you have the envelope maker, problem solved. All right. But if you don't, this is just another way that you can, create envelopes. So what you would need is just a standard, this is a number 8 envelope. Now you can use, a bigger one and cut it down and glue the sides, whatever it is you want to do. But this is all you really need. Now I'm okay with the inside. I never worry about the inside. So I'm just going to show you how we get from here to here. All right. So let's get started. So of course, the first thing that you need is this, an envelope. All right. Now the other thing that I like to pull in is I just like to pull in like a solid cardstock for up here. Now you can also line this if you want, just cut your triangle and then you would have to, put it inside and all of that. But to make it quick, because again, we really don't care about the inside, I just take some scrap solid cardstock. I like to use craft. That's kind of the running color that goes through my journals. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this line that's inside the envelope as a guide, so to speak. Now, I'm actually going to tuck that in. So I'm going to glue on this. Now, you don't have to do this step. I do this step to give it some strength because of the attachment that I create for it. So I'm just going to go in and put my glue down. Again, I'm using my Beacon 3-in-1. You can use your Fabri-Tac. These are the two glues that I do like to use when it comes to my junk journals. You can use the art glitter glue. I just kind of stay away from it. Okay, I'm going to line this up. See how I'm lining it along with that line decorated edge. And I'm going to press that. I'm going to come in. I'm going to open this up and I just want to put a little bit of glue down in there as well because I'm kind of pushing this solid piece of cardstock to that edge. But be careful, you don't want to close up your envelope. And I'm just going to let those cross. Make sure I don't have any glue coming out there. And then I'm just going to lift this up and continue my line out and put my glue there. Okay, so back onto the glue. So you can use an art glitter glue. I find that when you use that, I'm so sorry, when you use that, it's good for small embellishments. That's when I'll use that. But for like big pieces like this, you would actually see, the lines that you have going on in there. So I do tend to stick with the Fabri-Tac or the Beacon 3-in-1. It does have an odor to it. So if you are sensitive to that, be cautious with that. Now that I've got these in here, before I cut it, I like to find the fold and get that fold back in place. And I'll come in with my paper creaser and just make sure I've got that crease going on. Again, I'm going to lift these up, make sure I haven't closed it off. And I'm looking, I see some shininess going on here. Oh. That's okay, I'll clean that out. All right, and now I'm going to trim along this edge. So I'm going to use the envelope as my guide. And I'm just going to cut along that white. Okay, so now I have, you know, kind of like a strengthener that's going on there. Because I do, with what I do, I want that to be a little bit stronger. Now, this is stark white. Now, you can just go with this, you know, just do a little bit of embellishing on this and you know, keep going forward. I do like to cover them in a pattern paper. So you could use 12 by 12, and that would be the best size to use, only because you want to cut your paper 6.5 inches wide, and you need at least 10 inches. Okay, now you could have one piece cut 6.5 inches wide and 3 5/8. And then you would just need to what the balance is here, 6.5 inches wide. And then this actually measures here, instead of just saying it the way that I did. You know, for that tip, you would need it to be at least 6 inches. So you could use that type of paper as well, or those cuts. And you can use different papers as well. I just reached for this. Now, what I also want to do, now again, this envelope here measures 3 5/8 and 6.5, and it's a number 8 envelope. So if you go by the numbers, that's what you're looking for. So what I'm going to do is, instead of folding this up and then having to cut it down, you can do this a couple ways. So I'm going to start from here, and I'm going to glue it on this cover because I want that even with that edge. And I'm only going to put glue on this piece here. So I'm going to wait for my glue to fill back down because I'm missing my awesome little tiny, I love these things. Yay, I can put my glue bottle in there. It sits. Yay. Especially when you start losing, you know, you get down to the bottom. It helps you use all the glue. I'll link these. These are awesome. Okay. So we're going to put our glue down, and I want to make sure that I go to the edge. I want to make sure that even though I'm going to this edge, I'm not getting too close to the edge to go onto the envelope. But you want to make sure that that edge is covered, or you've gone up to that, only because so that when you start putting things in this, you're not going to get caught on that edge. So get as close as you can. And then I'm just going to fill in here. So once I have my glue down, I'm going to take my paper's edge. And you want to make sure too, the paper that you use, if it's got writing on it, you know, that you have your writing the way that you want it to go. So I'm going to come up to that edge just a little bit below the fold. And then I'm going to lay this down, and I want to make sure that I'm covering my edge. So that's the wonderfulness of the beacon glue, because you do have time to move it. So I'm just going to wiggle just a little bit, get my roller, and I think I'm off, but that's okay. We can always make it work. So you just want to make sure that you're lined up. And yes, I am off. I did go crooked, but that's okay. You get the gist. We'll trim that. I'm going to come in with my scissors, and I'm just going to trim that off. So again, same problem. We let it go. We just make all of this work, and it's all good. There we go. Fold. Yep, and we're still good. It's still bending a little bit, but that's okay. So now I'm going to flip this. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bend the envelope up, and I'm going to make sure I'm even on the edge. And I'm just going to crease. And you can see I'm covering that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my glue all over this. And then I'm going to grab it and I'm going to flip it up, making sure that my sides are even. I want my sides even. If there is a one tool, I mean, I know I'm trying not to do gadgets, again, not using the envelope maker, which if you have that, please use that. But if you don't, this is just another way to get some really cool envelopes in your journal. But this is just awesome because you can just make sure the glue is getting even. You have no bumps, and it takes it out to the edge. So this is awesome. This is the Spellbinders 2-in-1, and then this is the brayer that you can purchase separately on that. Okay, so now I have this. So now I'm going to trim this away, and I'm just going to follow that line of the envelope. I say that. I'm just saying. All right, so now I'm going to fold this over again. Pull in my paper creaser, or you can just use your finger, or you can use, not these because they're rubber, but you can use the edge of your scissors to just give it that nice crease. All right, so now you have a cute little envelope. So now what I would do is I'm going to ink up the edges. You knew the vintage photo was coming in, right? I'm just saying. Just going to come around the edges, even on the inside. I'm going to lift this up so I can go around that edge as well. And again, you don't have to go crazy with it. You just want a little bit of that color on the edge. If you don't like to use the vintage photo, you do not have to. I'm going to fold this over, get this side, and then get this side as well. All right, so that's your envelope. Now, you can stop here. And what you can do is you can take it, when you put it in your junk journal, you can just fold it over the page, put a paper clip on it. You can put this in one of your pockets or your tucks. Whatever it is you would like to do, you can stop here. But I really wanted the concept of a closure here. So what I did was I grabbed my hole punch. Now you can use just a regular standard hole punch. I just like the size of this hole, and I have no idea what size hole this punches. Looking to see if it says on here. It is a We Are Memory Keepers hole punch. Okay. But I just like the size, and you'll see why in a second. So I'm going to look from underneath, and I'm going to come up to the center, and I'm going to punch my hole. Now you can mark it if you want. I don't like to measure or mark things, which is really bad, but for those you do, I'm going to put a mark there, and I'm going to center that in the hole that I'm looking at right there. And I'm going to punch. So I've got this really nice hole there. Now, you can put an eyelet here if you want. I love eyelets, but I'm going to be honest. It drives me crazy. The one side looks awesomely beautiful, and then the other side doesn't. I'm just saying. So I only use them for like one thing when it comes to my junk journals, and that's the big bookmarker. Just a side note there. I'm not sure if you wanted to know that. So, for what I use next is I go to my dollar store. I think they know me by my first name, which is really funny. And I get those hole reinforcers. And then what I do is I just take the sheet of them and I use my vintage photo to color them. So you can make these any color that you want, which I think is awesome, depending upon the type of junk journal you're creating. Because maybe you're not into the vintage style. Maybe you're into the bright cardstocks, the pinks and the yellows. You can make these pink and yellow and orange and blue and all of those colors. So that's all I do. I just get them from my dollar store. It's a whole huge pack. And then this is the perfect hole size around what I just punched. So that's really why I love this hole punch. I'm just saying. And then I'm going to put one on the outside, and I'm just going to make sure that I'm lining it up with that hole. So now I've got that little embellishment going on. Okay, so the next thing that I want to do is I want to create this. Now you can use a brad, but then you've just got to remember to put something in here to protect so that your papers that you're putting in aren't getting caught on the brad. But maybe you don't have brads. You can still create this so that this will wrap around. So this is what I did. So I have 2 hand punches. These come in a set. They are by EK Success. So you have your one circle here, and then you have your little circle. Okay, this is 1/4 of an inch. I think this is a 5/8. But what this is really good for is if you didn't want to get these, you can actually punch this hole first, and then come in with this one and put that right in the center, and now you've created the same thing. Cool, huh? So this can be the same thing as this if you want it to be bigger. So bang for your buck on this set. I'll link these down below. These are just awesome. I love my hand punches. I really do. So these are the 2 things that I used. So I punch 2 of these out, and then I'm going to punch 5 of these out. What's really nice with this, they kind of come out flat. They don't bend too much like your regular, oh, lost that one, your regular handheld hole punch does. So they're easier to flatten out. So I like to have 5 of those. Okay. So these, no, I'm not going to worry about inking these. Don't worry about that. So now I'm going to pull in this because using this on those, yeah, that wouldn't work. So I'm just going to put a dot of glue in the center of these, except for the last one. Now these are really tiny too. Now you can use tweezers or your fingers if you are. Mine are a little chunky here. So I use what's called a wax pencil. I also use this for my sequins and stuff like that. These are very inexpensive. I got it from Amazon. And I'm just going to layer these on top of each other. And then once I have them all layered, I'm just going to roll them in my finger. I'm going to pinch them together and then just roll them to remove the excess glue. It doesn't need to be perfect in any way, shape, or form. But this is going to give me the lift off of this piece of my envelope. So what I do want to do, I'm going to glue these 2 together, use a little bit more glue. Again, roll it between my fingers so that it's even. And this one I am going to ink up. Just going to put a little bit around the edges. And by using the 2 layers, it just makes it a little stronger because you'll be wrapping that thread around it. I'm going to add glue to the top of this again. And then I'm going to pick this up. I'm just going to do this onto the underside. You want to do this to the underside so that you can at least know that you got this somewhat in the center. And I'm just going to move that and then press down. So now I've just created that mechanism. Now I don't know if you're going to be able to see that, but you can see the dimension on that. And that's exactly what you're looking for. Now you can get any string that you want to get. This here, I absolutely love. this string now that it's tied to my pinky. How did I do that? There we go. This is actually like a, forget what it's called. But I have a huge thing of it. You can use this like when you wrap up your roasts. Like it was this baking twine. So now you can glue this here if you wanted to. What I chose to do is I'm going to grab my envelope and grab my pencil, and I'm going to guess where I can put this. So I'm going to make a mark there. Not that you're going to see that. I'm going to put my dot of glue on this piece. Close that down and just get that close to being even. I'm going to use my eyeballs for that. And I'm just going to hold that in place for a second. Now, the art glitter glue is perfect for this. It's quick grabbing. Also, tacky glues can be used as well. Use what you have in your stash. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my twine. And what I like to do is just bring it up. And I just like to tie a knot. I just like to tie it on. And then because it'll go right underneath it. And then I'll come in. Because there's a little bit of glue around the edge too. So it'll actually grab it. So I don't, you know, if you don't clean too much, it's a good thing. It'll catch it. I come in with some scissors. I bend this up a little bit. And I snip. There we go. So then what I can do is I can take this. I can thread it through the hole, bring it down, and then wrap it around. Well, okay, so I can make it look easier. Here we go, wrapping it around. And then I just trim. And that is, it's like a policy envelope, but a little different. Instead of having this and this on top. Now, you could put one of these up here as well and do, you know, the policy envelope type thing. But I kind of like the difference with the hole. Again, it's a little different. You know, again, it doesn't have to be the same. Now, this here looked very plain to me. Yes, very, very plain. So what I actually did was I grabbed my 1/4 inch punch and I took a piece of the cardstock. I just punched that out. Grabbed my glue, put a little bit of dot in the center. Put a little bit of dot in the center. Really, did I just say that? Yes, I did. I'm going to pick that up and place that down. And that just embellished that a little bit. Or you could put a flower on that. Or you could use this whole thing, you know, cover the whole thing with your cardstock. You know, and again, you can still embellish this size. But it's a perfect envelope for when you want to put something, if you want envelopes in your junk journal. Just to add, you know, some interest or anything like that. So if I find a page here, and again, it can be any of your pages, you can take this and then you can just grab a paper clip. And again, these, you can get these in many colors, silver or gold. But once you put that on there, you can just paper clip it. You can do your fancy paper clip if you want, and there you go. You have an envelope for the inside of your junk journal. So I hope you found this somewhat inspiring, at least. You know, just something else that you can create to fill up your junk journal. You know, create all kinds of different embellishments. Again, you don't need crazy tools. You can cut your own circles. I mean, you don't necessarily have to have, you know, these types of tools here, but these are the basics. They're not expensive at all. You can use, you know, just by getting these, you're taking care of this. And again, you can cut different types of cardstock out at the same time. So I hope you give this a try. You can notch the inside so that you can get in there, you know, using that same tool, just by taking your punch, eyeing up the center, and then punching it out. Now you've got that little indentation so you can get your finger in there. Don't want to forget that, and then ink around it. You know, can't forget the inking. So again, you've got so many options, so many things that you can do. So I hope you'll give this a try. And if you do, let me know. I'd love to see a photo of it because I'm nosy that way. But all the supplies that I used, I'm just going to continue to add to my supply list. You know, again, it's really a lot of the same things. You know, maybe some different stamp sets or anything like that, but it pretty much does stay the same. If you have any questions or comments or anything that you're curious about when it comes to our junk journals, please leave those down below as well, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you so much for spending this time, and oh, I'm in a pretty good time. I'm under 30 minutes. Ooh, miracles can happen. But thank you so much for stopping by, just watching this video, spending a little bit of time with me. If you haven't already, I'd love for you to subscribe. Make sure you hit the bell because you don't want to miss the next video. You just never know what's coming out next with paper and what we can do with it. But I hope everyone's having a great day. Enjoy it, but always remember what's most important. Always be creative. Till next time.